Hey guys, thanks for being a part of the DG Fit Nutrition Coaching clientele. Today I'm going to give you a presentation on all things cravings. We're going to talk about where cravings come from, why they're so addictive, and give you specific action steps of how to keep yourself from indulging in cravings so that way you can get on towards reaching your goals. So where do cravings come from? Well, they kind of simultaneously occur in both the gut and the brain. When the gut is hungry, when you're hungry, it sends a signal to the brain using a hormone called ghrelin. When you're full, it sends a signal to the brain using a hormone called leptin. Now, what happens is that when you're hungry, if you satiate or fill yourself with foods that are very high in refined sugar or are just high in like refined, simple carbohydrates, then this also releases a hormone called serotonin. Serotonin is known as your happy hormone, and this is a hormone that is often released in things that are very, very addictive. So you need to be careful in what you put into your body to minimize the amount of serotonin that gets secreted. And we're going to talk about more of that on the next slide. So you gave into cravings this week, and I'm not talking about giving yourself a treat. I'm talking about eating the entire box of Oreos, eating the entire pint of Ben & Jerry's, drinking a gallon of sweet tea. All right, this is something that you should be able to control. You should be able to do this. You're a bad person. You are weak. You do not have the willpower that you need. Have you ever heard this before? Because that's a bunch of baloney, all right? You are not weak. You are not lacking in willpower. It is not completely your fault. You're not a bad person for giving into cravings. And here's why. Because as I said in the last slide, serotonin is released when we give ourselves things like sugar and refined carbohydrates. Now what happens is that serotonin release becomes just as strong, if not stronger, than the same hormone that is being released when people are getting addicted to drugs, all right? So what needs to happen is that you need to take this in a very intervention kind of approach. Don't go cold turkey, or else we all know that you're just going to go back to the cravings, and all the Ben & Jerry's, all the Oreos are going to come every single day for the next 2 weeks because you just feel guilty. All right, so don't do that. Move on with life. Know that it's okay. You're not a bad person, and start making good decisions, and don't try to make those mistakes. All right, one step at a time. This is a marathon, not a sprint. So we know that cravings are caused in the brain and in the gut from a increase in ghrelin, a decrease in leptin, and an increase in serotonin and dopamine need. So let's talk about a few factors. We're going to dive into each one of these later in the next few slides, but the first thing that can contribute to an increase in cravings is sleep deprivation. This can be the total time of sleep and or the quality of your sleep as well. The next thing is going to be a macro or calorie imbalance. If you're eating too many of a certain macronutrient, specifically carbohydrate and or fat, then that can increase your desire for more of that specific food. So getting the right amount of carbohydrates to where you're not getting cravings, and getting the right amount of fats to where you're not getting cravings for fatty foods is going to be important as well. If you're too low on your calories, then we need to increase your calories that way we can prevent cravings from happening as well. A few other things are dopamine and serotonin diversity. So this basically means if the only thing that you have in your life that is bringing you feelings of happiness is food, then we need to include other things that are going to make you feel good as well. So being outside, exercising, playing with your kids, playing with your grandkids, doing things that you enjoy and that are able to bring you some relief that can release that dopamine and that serotonin in other ways rather than just food. A few other things are convenience. So the more sweet and snacky foods that you have around, the easier it's going to be to give into cravings. This is just kind of common sense. So you have a bunch of treats and or candy or pastas that are prepared, ready to go that you really, really enjoy, and you have a lot of those laying around the house, you're going to give into it more. So try to put those things away from your field of sight, or even just to keep them out of the house in general. Is your mood and your emotions. So if you struggle with anxiety, depression, sadness, loneliness, fear, anger, any of these things that are considered more to be negative emotions, Learning how to reverse those and make them feelings of gratitude, of thankfulness, of joy, of happiness, things like that are also going to help curb cravings as well.